Joining me today is our Special Agent in charge of FDLE, the Jacksonville region, Dominic Pape. Thank you for being with us, Dominic. And also I have with me Lieutenant Mike Johnson, who is in charge of our Integrity and Special Investigations Unit. And the reason they are here is in October of 2011, our JSO Integrity and Special Investigations Unit received information from a reliable source that a state health inspector was accepting U.S. currency to overlook restaurant violations in Jacksonville and in the surrounding counties. For those of you that don't know, the JSO Integrity and the Special Investigations Unit focuses their efforts on investigations involving allegations of criminal conduct by officials and including the police. Our detectives immediately began to follow up on this information to identify suspects involved. Two inspectors employed by the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulations were discovered to be involved in these illegal activities. In fact, due to the far-reaching consequences of corruption in the process by which food safety is delivered to our citizens in our restaurants, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office reached out to the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to assist us in this investigation. Through the combined efforts, also I should mention the State Attorney's Office assisted us as well. And through the combined effort of these agencies, we were able to conduct proactive undercover operations in several restaurants, which led to the identification of two state health inspectors who were identified as committing these criminal acts. The two suspects are Moses Davis and Stephen Rivera. They have both now been arrested this morning and are charged with one count of unlawful compensation each, which is a second-degree felony and carries a maximum 15-year sentence. Additional charges may be pending after the interviews that we had this morning with them. So we'll be, we're not complete in our charging possibly in these cases. And I'd like to reiterate that the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation was very instrumental in our being able to bring this investigation to a successful conclusion and ferret out these two individuals who were accepting what may now look like bribes also. So we'd like to thank also the area restaurant managers and owners that cooperated with us in this investigation. We appreciate their honesty in recognizing that receiving a favorable inspection in exchange for money is not only criminal behavior, but it also possibly puts our citizens at risk. And additionally, I'd like to encourage any restaurant owner who has been a victim of a similar crime to either contact the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at 630-0500 or contact FDLE at 360-7100. Or, of course, they can also call First Coast Crime Stoppers and remain completely anonymous at 866-845-TIPS. And with that, I'm going to ask Special Agent Dominic Pape to say a word. Dominic?
Thanks, Sheriff. On behalf of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Commissioner Jerry Bailey, Sheriff, I want to thank you personally and your Special Investigative Unit. Many times, sometimes these complaints go unlooked at, unchecked, but your unit took it seriously, and we have resolved two state employees that had no business being in this community trying to protect the citizens and businesses. These two state employees decided to use their positions of authority to prey on our businesses in this state. And with this economic climate and things like that, these type of individuals have no business being employed by the state of Florida. So again, Sheriff, I want to thank you for taking that information, bringing it to us, and work this together as a team. This was an outstanding investigative effort from the beginning. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Questions?
Sheriff, any idea how much money they actually received over the course of when this started happening?
The total amount that they received, we're actually not sure. We're still investigating that. But it was anywhere from $100 to $300 per case. And we currently know of 17 restaurants that were actually victimized.
Do you know the names of those restaurants?
We're not releasing that right now for investigative purposes, but that'll all come out in the prosecution.
That at some point, what about the patrons who went to these restaurants who may potentially have gotten sick because of this?
Yeah, there are, well, and that information will come out. And that's one reason this crime is so important that we investigated it thoroughly, was the risks of public health that these individuals were creating out there.
Do you know of any complaints?
So
to that
we
effect?
don't know of any, no.
And how did you guys catch them?
Pardon me?
How did you catch them? Other than the complaint, how did you?
Well, we as I said, our integrity unit received a tip, and then Mike and his officers began to work undercover with the participation of the regulatory department, and that's how we were able to go out and undercover make these cases, 17 of them.
John, could you please explain how it worked? I mean, how did the scheme work?
What they would do is, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let Mike. Mike, you want to describe it?
We're still conducting the investigation, so, and we may have further charges pending, so I really don't want to go into the details of how we obtained the information and the tips at this time. You know, we can do a follow-up later on, once we go through our interview and contact the other personnel that, you know, may possibly be involved. So I really don't want to divulge our investigative techniques.
No. I'm not asking about your investigative techniques. I'm asking what you're alleging these guys to have done. What did they do?
They would go in and give favorable inspections for money.
Did they threaten the restaurant owners that if they didn't pay them the money, they would get a poor grade?
I don't believe you could classify it as a threat. If they went in and they wanted a favorable inspections where maybe there would be a fine assessed, then if you paid these individuals, then you may not get cited with that, you know, one specific violation.
So did the violations actually exist and then they overlooked them? Is that basically what happened?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And these are violations of, I mean, what could they have been? For instance, I mean, you know, you see these restaurant reports of roaches and things like that. I mean, are those the kinds of violations? How food was kept? Did it run the gamut?
Yes, any of the violations that you see on TV with the different news agencies that run the clean plate and
They're also
those
in the
type things,
newspapers.
exactly,
Yeah.
and newspapers, my bad.
Yeah, I think the key is, on those cases where it looked like they were going to be facing a fine, they were given an option to pay $100 to $300
Okay.
to not have that finable offense put on their inspection report.
Are any of them facing charges? Any of the restaurant owners?
No.
Why?
Well, I think because they were coerced through this process.
Any other questions?
Who oversees the state inspectors? Is it a local agency that's part of the state, or I guess what are the requirements to become a state inspector? And do you know how long these two have been employed as that?
Well, they are part of, the inspectors in the state health department are part of the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, is the proper title.
John, is it possible that other arrests may occur? I know that you said the investigation continues, so could there possibly be other suspects?
Potentially, yes. And some of that has grown out of our interviews with them this morning. And so we're, like I said, we're still investigating, and that's why I don't want to name the restaurants at this point.
How long have these two been inspectors?
Mr. Davis, let's see here. Yeah.
It's two, like in the grand scheme of things, while you're looking at that, are there a
Yeah,
lot of restaurant inspectors? I mean, how many, so this is just 2 out of like 400 or something, or 2 out of?
Locally, I believe there's approximately 35. So.
Okay.
35 for, now that's not just Duval, that's the surrounding counties as well. But Moses Davis has been, he is 54 years old and has been with the Department of Regulation for 15 years. And Stephen Rivera is 47 years old and has been with them 5 years.
Good, thank you.
Any indication that they've been doing this longer than what at least you guys have been investigating? So before October of last year when you got the tip?
Oh, yeah, they were doing it before that.
You know about how long, John, approximately?
Will still remain to be seen.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nobody gets